quorum here coming together. I want to make a little joke. I want to explain that here in the US, I feel like we have been a group of amateur zoologists who love to meet up and talk, but none of us have ever actually seen an elephant. So the elephant is you, Davide. What I mean is we've never had someone speak about Italian social co-ops. We've been talking about them for months, but for, kind of the usual reasons, language being the main thing, we haven't actually gotten someone to come on and do a webinar and give us the real inside, elephant eye view of this work. So it's exciting to finally do that. And we're fortunate that you are, more or less bilingual, and Erica can, back us up if we need to in terms of language things, but I'm pretty confident you'll do fine. So I just wanted to welcome everybody to the session today and say, hi, Minsun, glad you're here too. Great. And Matthew, wonderful. All right. Oh, this is going to be very good.
Elias, do you have the slides that I send you, or I have to?
I think I do somewhere, but if you have them handy, I'll be happy to give you screen sharing, or Erica can give you screen sharing privileges.
Yes, you're allowed to.
Great.
So Erica, I had to send it to you now, or I screen.
You can just. So at the bottom, there is a square that says share, and you can share it there.
Okay. Document.
And I'll give you a quick intro, Davide, while you're setting it up.
Yes, one moment that I want to share the slides, but I don't know how to do it with Zoom.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
What's the best way to do this, Erica? Should we send them to you?
Okay. I got it. So you can introduce and then I will present the slide.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Today we have a speaker from Milan, Davide Damiano, whom Erica and I and Minsun have been working with for a bit. He is based in Milan, which is in the region of Lombardy in the north of Italy. And one thing that I learned from Davide about that area is that it has in itself, in that one region, 2,000 social co-ops operating. So that is a very impressive number. Social co-ops, as most of you will know, have been growing in Italy, especially since 1991, when they were enabled by law. The history goes back a little further than that. And it's also very interesting that they have origins in, to some degree, the anti-psychiatry movement, which comes out of the 60s and 70s, when there was a movement against institutionalization of mental patients. So that's history kind of in the far background, but it's just interesting that it's an example of communities kind of rising up to take back social care in many ways. Davide has degrees from the Catholic University of the Sacred Heart, and he also studied at the London School of Economics. He worked with the Eris Foundation in fundraising for a while, and then eventually about 7 years ago, became the business director and is now the president of Pandora Social Co-op, based in Milan. Pandora is a type B co-op, which I'll let Davide explain a bit about. And other than that, I've got no more to add. I'll turn it over to you, Davide, and thank you for coming.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And first of all, I want to say thank you for these invitations. And it is an honor for me to speak about my cooperative, my life, and our movement here in Italy with you that are from the other side of the ocean, but we can be together to face what is happening in this world nowadays. And sorry for my English. It is not my mother tongue, so I have to say sorry in anticipate. But I hope you will understand what I will say. So I have some slides to share with you. Tell me if you see the slides. Do you see the slides?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So I start the presentation. Okay, so that it is better to understand. I want to start the presentation of Pandora and the social cooperative movement here in Italy from two pictures. That are two pictures of my town, Milan, in the north of Italy. In Quartier Road is one of the poorest place in Milan and in Italy, of course, and city life is one of the richest place in Milan. So think about that. Apartment in city life are sold by 15,000 euros per square meters, and in Quartier Road, of course, you can see the situation. But what I want to say is that the distance between Quartier Road and city life is 1 kilometer, so 5 minutes by car. Okay, but in the same town, in the same city, in Milan, coexist two different way of live. And my questions for everyone, for you, for me, and for every people who live in Milan is if a child that was born in the same days of the same years in Quartier Road and in city life has the same opportunities and possibilities. So the answer on these questions is the answer of all the history and the ways to work for a social cooperative. In my opinion, no. Okay, so in Italy, not only in Italy, but in the same town that is the biggest economic, if we speak economically, okay, town in Italy and one of the richest town in all the Europe, there are not the same possibility for two different child, boys and girl, that live, born and grow up in two different places that are based 5 minutes by car, one to the other. And social cooperatives try to make possible for these two hypothetical child that was born in these two places to have the same opportunity and possibility. So our exchange is this one. And how we do it and how Italy Italian movement try to answer to this question, we will see in the next few slides. I want to start with some history, but I think that all of you know about Rochdale Pioneers, or if you don't know, they are the founder of the first cooperative in England during the Industrial Revolutions. They started from a very simple way. So they said, okay, the mutuality, that is the principle that are on the base of all the cooperative and also on the social cooperative, is that we don't have profit as a goal, okay? But our goal and the goal of the Rochdale Pioneers was the benefit of all the member of the community, not only the member of the cooperative, but the community in which the cooperative is based. And the very, very, very interesting way is that they started with a different economic model. That is to say, okay, there are not one-man show, okay? So a single person, or a group of people that own the SRL, so the company, but every worker is the owner of the cooperative. And this is I think the most important way to answer to a need, because during the Industrial Revolution there was growing a lot of needs that before the revolution there wasn't. And this is the same way in which in 1991, as Elias told you before, in Italy, government decided to create a law for the existence of a social cooperative, to understand and to answer to a specific needs. And the last part is what you know, so that the profits in a cooperative are not redistributed between the members, but inside the cooperative. Why? Just to help the cooperative to make possible for the community in which the cooperative is growing up to understand and to answer to the needs. And so one moment, because I don't. Okay, well, what is a social cooperative? Because this is a cooperative, but a social cooperative is something different. It's something similar but different. So as you can read in the 1980s in Italy, there was a growing need, as I said before, for a lot of social services, especially for vulnerable groups as people with disability or people who have some disadvantages, for example, people with addiction or prisoners that are, I think, the people in which we as Pandora works better and a lot. We have two different laboratories in two different prisons here in Milan, but I will tell you after about Pandora. So what are the characteristics? So characteristics are the same of a normal cooperative. So you have to promote activities for the benefit of the community in which you are based, and encourage the work and the inclusion of disadvantaged people, and inclusion of individuals with physical or mental disabilities. We have a law that permits us, so the cooperative, the social cooperative, some exemption from taxation. We pay lower taxes than a normal cooperative or than normal companies. And we have some incentives to make possible for us to reintegrate the disadvantaged people by hiring them, and we pay low taxes by the number of disadvantaged people that we are reintroducing in the work market. And this law that it is 1991, because you can see that these new needs were born in the 90s here in Italy. After 10 years, government decided to make a law to define what a social cooperative is. So after 10 years, government say, okay, this new kind of cooperatives, we have to legislate, we have to regulate how they work. Okay, one of the best things about the history of social cooperative movement here in Italy, it is that is a movement from the bottom to the up, not from the up to the bottom. Okay, so it started in the 1980s, and in 1991 they created the law. They created the law with the works and the incentives of people who are working from the 1980, 1979 in social cooperative. So the movement of social cooperativism here in Italy creates the law. Okay, and they decided to divide the social cooperative into different kinds. The first one is social co-ops type A, and the second one is type B. Type A, provision of social healthcare and educational services. So they create services for education. Type B, as Pandora, for example, are focused only in employment integration of people who are in disadvantageous states. So people with disability, drug addicts, or prisoners, as in our case. And I don't know, Elias, if I have to speak and question after, or if you have some question during this webinar, tell me how you are.
If you don't mind, Davide, if you don't mind, yes, we will have questions at the end. And maybe you're about to get to this, but between type A and type B, there's kind of a spectrum. And I know you've written about and talked about your view that really type A and type B have to work together because they're part of a progression. Could you say a little bit about that?
Yes, of course, because the works of, in particular, type B co-ops, so as me, okay, we work with the work integration of people who come from different situations. If we think and if we work only in the labor market, only thinking and working about work, we don't make the good for people. Okay, we made our good. Good for the people is to see all the other needs. So the needs of care, the needs of having a house, the needs of help him with the children. So the needs of care him in if he have or she has addiction problem, or if he or she is in prison. So not only work, because if we think all about work, you can make possible for them to start their new life, their new road. So the two kind of cooperative are really attached one with the other. Okay, and we works, for example, with Ares Foundation, that is not a social co-ops, is a foundation, but works in the same way, because in Italy foundations are a little different than the foundation that you are able to that you understand in the United States, and works in the same way of social co-ops type A. For example, community in which people with addiction start their care can be foundation or social co-ops type A.
David, I have actually questions. Are these social cooperative defined as a nonprofit as well, or are these social cooperatives tax exempt as
No,
social cooperatives?
we are no profit. In Italy, we have a law that is we had a law, and then 2 years ago they changed it, and they make possible for social co-ops, type A, type B, foundation, association, volunteer association, volunteer organization to become part of the same albo, we say here in Italy, that is they call them third sector. Okay, so we are part of the same family. Okay, with our every one of us, COPS, foundation, association, we have everyone our characteristic and our differentiation one from the other, but we are part of the same family. Okay, we can call it that is the third sector here in Italy. And this is a particular way, so the consortium is a particular way in which social co-ops and social co-ops movement here in Italy can work. Okay, they are not a first level structure, they are a second level structures. Okay, because the consortium can burn if 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 cooperatives said, okay, for better answer to the needs of our community, it is better that we stay together, okay, and we create a consortium that is another house, a new house in which our cooperative can enter. Every one of us, every cooperative that participates to the consortium has its differentiation, as I told you before, okay, and continue to have its independence. Okay, its administration, its human resources, its direction, its president. Okay, but there are another house in which they are part. Okay, that can help them to work with a particular, for example, public service here in Italy, or to work in a particular area, or, for example, as we do with Ares Foundation, make possible for the cooperative to answer to the different needs. So it is in a consortium, usually there are part of social co-ops type B, social co-ops type A. Sometimes there are educational organization, private school, parity school, okay, just to force also in the part of formation is very important in our work. And consortium as an administrative can make administrative and management support for all the cooperatives, can make possible for the single cooperative to access to a market in which without the consortium they can enter, can make possible for the cooperative to innovate, okay? Because if we are together, it is better to innovate, and we can reach different objectives and different forms, different way in which we can help our people to enter in the labor market, okay? So it is a very, very particular way in which social co-ops or organization bring together their know-how, bring together their forces, maintaining their independence and their own way to do their work. And in Italy, there are the biggest social co-ops consortium is CCM, that you can see. The president of CCM is the president of Feder Solidarietà, that is the part of Conf Cooperative. It is a representation, organization of representation for the social co-ops movement here in Italy. So not all the 2,000 social co-ops in Lombardy, but you have to think that with Conf Cooperative and Feder Solidarietà, we are, I think, 200,000 people who works for social co-ops that are part of Conf Cooperative and Feder Solidarietà. So a lot of people depends on the decision of CCM and Conf Cooperative and Feder Solidarietà. And if you don't have any question about consortium, or if you want to make the question after the presentation, I want to speak a little bit about Pandora, because it is my coop, or better, it is the cooperative of which I am the president, because I am the expression of the members, but it's a cooperative, so it's not mine. Okay, Pandora, it was founded in 2012 in Baranzate. It is a very, very, very small place in the north of Milan. It is a very, very poor place. It's the same for make easier of Quarty Road, the picture that I showed you before. And it was a kiosk for make possible for disadvantaged people to begin to work in this kiosk, but there were a lot of problems because, for example, one of the people who works inside the kiosk start to sell drugs, and so he was arrested after 1 month, and so the kiosk was closing. And in this period, I was studying in Catholic University, as I have told you before, and I knew the president of Eris Foundation would tell me, "Hey, Davide, you're going to take the degree. And what do you think about start work in a social co-ops and start to make possible for Pandora to relive, because Pandora, it was failing. It was not failing, it was failing." And I said, okay, I want to do this kind of job. I want to try, I want to risk. And so we started, and nowadays Pandora has 100 workers, 78, not 70, because 78 people are disadvantages. And that means that 78 people come from prison, or are people with addiction problem or disabilities. And we have 10 Article 14 Convention. I will tell you about Article 14 in the next few slides. And our project is to become bigger, obviously. And in 2026, we want to have 150 workers. And we want to open 2 new laboratories in prisons. Nowadays, we have 3 laboratories, 2 in Bollate's prison, that is the biggest prison here in Italy, is in Milan, and 1 in Monza, that is a small town in the north of Italy. What we do in prison, we worked in Monza detention. First of all, in Italy, we don't have private prison, so we have all the prison here in Italy are public. Okay, and we work inside, so public sector give us a workplace inside the prison of Monza in 2020, and we started to make the work that is assembly workshop for I'm so sorry, but it's difficult for me to tell this word in English. Polypropylene briefcases, okay? And you can see the image of what we do in Monza. And nowadays we create 700 briefcases every year, and we have 12 prisoners who work with us. We hire them with our contract, and just to make some numbers, because they work not only to make possible for them to spend their detention period in a different way, but also to have the salary, okay? And they, I think, 1,035, 1,400 euros per month. So it is in Italy a very, very, very good salary, okay? And we opened by Elias. Do you have a question?
Quick question. I mean, that last workshop is the workshop where you teach skills that could be applied in the economy generally,
Yes.
right? It's not just a small specific project. Now the person in the workshop graduates with a real saleable skill.
Yes, of course. Think about that. Nowadays, we open a new place outside Monza's prison, and 5 minutes by walk. Yes, because in this way it is possible for people who are in the Monza's prison, and in Italy we have Article 21, that is the possibility for prisoner to go out from the prison and start to work and re-enter in the prison just as well. Okay, it is a particular ways in which we help prisoners to reinsert themselves in the society. And so we create a circle, okay? They started to work inside, then when they can go out from the prison, they start to work outside in our own laboratory. And then, for example, for the last laboratories that we design workshop for, we design energy columns for electric vehicle, okay? And the people who works inside this laboratory are hired by our customer, okay? Because they have the skills. We create a course, they start to work, and they do a very good job, and then our customers say, okay, I want to hire them because they are good. Okay, I don't care if they are prisoner, I don't care what they have done in their past, I want to hire them. And this is the only way that we have to make possible for these people not only to understand, okay, what they have done in their lives, because if they are in prison, something they have done something, okay. But our responsibilities as social cops, but as a citizen, okay, of Milan, is to make possible for them to understand and restart a new life, okay. And this is something that not all the politicians here in Italy understand. I think that the 5% of politicians understand these things, but it is something that also economically speaking, it is good, okay? Because in Italy we have 68% of recidivism. That means that 68% of people who are in prison nowadays was in prison in the last years, okay? And we pay, okay, 180 euros per day for every prisoner. But if we make possible for them to respect the Article 27 of our beautiful constitutions, okay, that said that every inmate has the possibility to make and to leave the detention period to improve something that make possible for them to live another life. Understand what you have to do with our help. And then I want to speak about, we have another laboratory, is a very small, where we assemble screws for a company. 2 people works inside this, but it's right center. I want, before speaking about our second laboratories in Bollate, I want to tell you some laws, just because so you can understand better what I'm talking to you. So, as I said before, Article 21 are inmate workers who works outside the institution and return to sleep in the prison. Article 20 are inmate workers who works inside the institution, so inside the prison. Sorry, institution, I know that in English it means something else. So inside prison, okay? And for example, our laboratory where we design briefcases, where we create briefcases inside the prison. Smuraglia law is a tax credit for each employed inmate who works Okay, so for every inmate that works in a social cooperative, we receive from the state 520 euros per month. Okay, this is a way in which Italian state try to help, okay, the hiring of these people. Smuraglia was a socialist, and it was Minister of Work, of course, in the 1980s with Bettino Crazzi, of course, and they created this law because they were part of the 5% of politicians that understand how is it possible for the state to reintroduce these people. And then other laws not related to the prison are Article 14, that is Biagi law. Marco Biagi was one of the biggest labor mentor, okay, labor expert in Italy. He was assassinated by the Brigate Rosse, BR, so communist army here in Italy, because he created a law in which there was Article 14, so that allows company to fulfill their obligation to hire individuals belonging to protected categories, because you know in Italy companies are must hire people who have disability. If you have more than 15 workers, you have to hire 1 people with disability. If you have more than 50 workers, you have to hire the 7% of people belonging to protected category. Article 14 said, Biagi was a genius. Article 14 said, okay, companies are profit oriented, okay? So they will never hire a protected category as we said them. Let's make possible for them to close an agreement with social co-ops, and social co-ops, for example, make cleaning services inside this company using people who belong to protected category. So in this way, okay, because the objectives, it was the person, okay, not the company, not the fact that the company has to answer to a law, but the objective was and is the people, okay? So we don't care how, okay, company try to reintroduce these people in the labor market. We care that company does it with a social co-ops. And we are sure that social co-ops do this work in a very good way, okay? Then it is an agreement by 3, so with the province, with the Italian state, that control that we do everything right, and this is right, okay? Because without control, it could happen everything. Last law that I want to tell you, sorry, Elias, I end this slide and then you can make the questions, but it is important, in my opinion, is the Basaglia law. Basaglia was another socialist, another genius, okay, that closed psychiatric hospitals here in Italy, okay? Because he said in 1970, he said the only way in which we have, okay, to reintroduce these people, okay, not only in the labor market, but also in the life, and to help the family, okay, of which these people are part, is to create community, okay? Not psychiatric hospital where they are closed with, where the curtains or door are closed, okay, but community. The same way in which nowadays in Italy, but I think also in the United States, we face the problem of drug addiction with the creation of the community. And this is my personal opinion. This is the only way in which we can face the problem of prisoners, okay? Because if we create community, okay, in this way, not prison in which they have to spend their time looking the doors or work with us, but in Italy works the 10% of prisoners, so it's a little bit, okay? The only way that we have is to create a community-based model for prisoners just to spend their detention period in a different way. It is the only way, not create new prison, not hire new detention police, okay, but create a different way in which we can work it. And we are working with Cooperative and also me with the CNEL, that is a particular legislation forces here in Italy, and with our government just to create a different model. It is a difficult battle, but we will win it. And you know, Elias, if you want to make the question or if you want to.
Just a quick question on the Biaggi law.
Yeah.
In your opinion, Davide, that law means that with over, is it 15 or 30 employees, 30 I think, right? 7% of the workforce has to come from these disadvantaged communities. My question is, what do you think is the importance of that law in your work? If there were no Biaggi, is it critical or not that important or somewhat important?
No, can you repeat the question? Sorry, Elias, I don't understand.
Yeah, the impact of the requirement that employers use services like those of Pandora Co-op. How important is that in your work? Is it a major factor, a minor factor? How would you describe the Biaggi law's requirement?
Important. Think about that. A lot of people who is in prison or has addiction have some or mental problem or physical problems, so they are protected categories. In my opinion, it is a very good way in which we can start to work with companies, and then after we start to work with companies start to say, okay, but social culture, good, okay, because without this law, we can't work with a lot of our customers, with a lot of companies here in Italy. This is, I call it a volcano. So it is as a, I don't know how to say it in English, but it is something that we use to approach the companies. We start to work with them, answering to their need, answering to this law, okay? But then after, we can create other kind of services, other kind of integrations that we make for, not only for them, but for the community, because we take someone who were in the street, who were a problem, okay, for the society. Let me use this word, okay, but you understand what I am talking about. So we create, we answer a need of the society, answering a need of the company, and this is, in my opinion, a very, very fantastic way. Do you understand me? Okay. And just other numbers about prison, but I tell you before interview we have 7,100 inmates, and think that in Italy, as I said you before, recidivism is 78%, but, and I don't tell you this, for who works, so for who start a rehabilitation program, working with the social co-ops, working on education with the social co-ops, or a foundation or association, creating a consortium, creating a sort of road, okay, in which they can stay and in which they can work, okay. Recidivism became 2%. So it is not impossible, okay, to create, to make, it is not impossible to make possible for these people to understand and to start a new life, okay. It is impossible, the 0%. This is impossible, okay, because evil exists, okay, and because we are all men or women, and so mistakes will continue to stay in the history of humanity, okay. But 78% is too much, and this is a responsibilities of not only politicians, but also of the society. Because I used to say, and there was a fantastic book here in Italy of Alcide De Gasperi that I told you before, that said much more society, less state. Okay, this is, in my opinion, one of the best way to look at this problem and to look at the responsibilities that we have. And this is what we do in Bollates prison, that is our woman detention center. Okay, we make quality control and we assemble brushes. We make this work for for an Italian company that works also in the United States, because they are the second world producer of toothbrushes. And we make possible for 10 women to work inside this laboratory. Okay, it is something very simple. Okay, something it is not difficult, but they started to work. They started to understand what works mean. They understand to answer to a boss, to stay with colleagues. Okay, every details that maybe outside of the prisons are spontaneous, but inside the prison, I I assure you that inside the prison also stay with the colleagues is difficult for them. Okay, so we started from the little things. Okay, and just to speak again of our organization, but it is important because one of the problems of social co-ops movement here in Italy is that sometimes social co-ops are organized as a voluntary. Okay, so they have not a business organization. Okay, but we have to make a business organization, because our not only our customers, okay, but our the place in which we live, okay, and our concurrency, okay, are companies, normal companies. So we have to be as normal companies without forget our mission, our purpose, our scope. Okay, and so I gave to Pandora a different way of organization. You can see it's simple, okay, but is something not used, that we are not used to do it in the social co-ops, okay, and we face a problem because from 2018 to 20, see, in 4 years we grew from 0 to 75 people, and so we created, we became bigger in a very low time. And so I changed the organization for this movement, for these reasons. Okay, because I was alone, and this is not a good thing when you are alone, because what I used to think and what I used to say is that I can do everything in my life. Okay, I can come to the United States to live with my brother that will come to the United States next year. So but Pandora must continue to live also without me. Okay, so we have to give to Pandora a structure, an organization that make possible for Pandora to continue to work and to grow without my presence. Nowadays, this is impossible. Okay, and not because I am the best, not because I am good, but because without my presence, some works can't continue. Okay, my presence and the presence of other two people. So we are working on giving to Pandora a different structure, a different organizational structure, make possible for Pandora to continue to stay, and if something happened to me or to others. And we create we try to innovate not only the way in which we help people, but the product that we sell to people. So I don't know. Yes, I got a little video just to a moment. I explain you. We create. This is a restaurant, a mobile restaurant that we use for events, for activities in Milan or in Lombardy. Okay, and this is a different way in which we can say, okay, we are a social cooperative, but we want to innovate and we want to be part of marketing. Okay, this is a marketing example in which we as a social cooperative co-ops want to say, okay, we are not something that you can say, okay, you are social co-op, so you are not good in doing what you do, okay? Because this is what some people think about, some politics thinks about social co-ops. So we try to make big thing. I want to show you. Okay.
That's
So
what we're looking at. Oh, yeah.
it's a simple video, but just to make you understand the different ways in which we try to enter in platform. Okay, this is another example of it's a particular fridge. I don't want to speak about that, but just to make you understand. And sorry for the Italian, but I don't have the translation. Okay, and another thing that is very essential for social co-ops in Italy is the network. As I said you before, talking about the consortium, but networks is not only the network between third sector entity, okay, but between profit company and no profit company. We have to destroy the idea that no profit are evil and profit are good. We have to start to collaborate with them, okay? And social co-ops in Italy start to collaborate with the Biagi law. So, Elias, just to answer to your question before, is Biagi laws allow us to start building a future with profit company, okay? Make possible for profit to understand that we can make services as them or better than them, okay? We want to go out from the idea that we are a little group of volunteers, a little group of people who are good and so want to do the good thing in the life, okay? But we want to work as a profit company, think about and having in our eyes what we do, okay? And I think that reintegration is, you can see that the picture is a river, because I think that reintegration is like the banks of a river. So we have, and we must help people to stay within the banks, okay, until they are able to navigate on their own. This is our only purpose, okay? But for doing this, we need to create a network with other social co-ops or foundation, with private company, with public company, and with the institutions. As you have understand, I'm not very fan of Italian institution in a different way, but we are obliged to have a relationship with institutions, and for example, what I said you before about the community of prisoners, okay? Without the institution, it will be impossible for me to create it, okay? I have to speak with them, okay? I have to stay with them, or without the institution, the creation of a 1991 law for social co-op, it was impossible. So our responsibility is to make possible for the institution to understand what we see in our road, in our books. And so I don't want to continue to speak about Pandora or social co-ops. If you have any questions about what I have said you, or curiosities about in which we work, tell me.
Great. Thank you, Davide. That was fantastic. I had invited here as kind of a special guest Ricardo Nunez. Ricardo is with the Sustainable, I said Solidarity before, Sustainable Economies Law Center in Oakland, where he is the Director of Economic Democracy. Ricardo, tell me what your thoughts were as you heard Davide talking through this work he's doing.
I mean, yeah, it was impressive, just the ability to take these small institutions and then grow them into the cooperatives that they've become. And then also that they're networks. I think that's like a lesson that a lot of people have learned, but then have tried to implement in the United States. It's been more difficult, both because we don't have like government institutions and enabling laws to like facilitate the creation of these networks. So usually then we depend on the nonprofit industrial complex to be able to do that, but then they're like sectioned off by geography or by industry or something, and so those can also run up against barriers. And then we just have the cultural differences of the United States being very individualistic, more libertarian, more kind of rugged, individualism, and so that also bleeds into our cooperative structures and cultures and things. And so when we talk about, for example, creating a tax on cooperatives that would feed into some type of institution or network, there's pushback, because there's a lot of folks in co-ops who don't want to do that, don't like the state, and don't want their money going through that to create these intermediary or consortia institutions. I have a lot of questions, but I also have to run to my next meeting in a couple minutes. And but this has been really informative, and I hope we can connect, David, because we just introduced legislation in California to enable the creation of worker cooperatives inside of California prisons. And so I'd love to have a deeper conversation with you about how we can take the lessons that you've learned and incorporate them into the legislation. So thank you.
Can I make a question to all of you? It was a curiosity, okay? Because I don't know I really don't know the legislation systems in the United States, okay? But I know that you have private prison, okay? That are owned and are something very different to which I used to work, okay? But why don't you think with a social co-ops to open a private prison, working on it as a social co-ops, not as a profit company? Is it something that is possible to do? Because in Italy we can't do. No, I tell you that I won't work in this. But is it something that you can do, or it is impossible because institutions, people, and characters? Okay, it's a curiosity that I have.
That's a really interesting idea. I love Ricardo's reaction because it's about the same as mine. This is a very bad area of American experience. But it is, you really are a true innovator, thinking that we could take a tool like the ability to create private prisons and create something that would break the model. I don't know. That's just kind of a mind-boggling idea in this context, but it might be something that could be worth exploring. If it's a pathway, if it's something that a certain kind of group with a certain vision could do, maybe that's a really interesting idea. I want to ask Min-Sun if she has any questions for Davide at this point also.
Well, Davide, thank you so much. This is just really, really interesting, and we have so many things that we can learn from your case, and we have a lot of obstacles. We have a lot to do here in the United States. I wonder, like you said, you actually don't receive any government funding, right? And so how do you actually make profits, and how do you sustain your cooperatives in the long run? Very curious.
I make you see. Okay, look at the third practice. Our customer pays us as by the number of toothbrushes that we create. Okay, so for example, €1 for one toothbrushes. Okay, and so we have to create 2,000 toothbrushes per month. These are not our numbers because we create 7 million toothbrushes every year, and so they pay us low that €1. but it's just to make it possible for you to understand. So we make services and we make products. This is what we do, okay? Doing this, we make possible for people in prison or outside prison with the addiction problem and disabilities to work. But we sell services or products. And then there are a lot of social co-ops who receive money from private foundation, banks foundation, of course. It is not our case because I don't want nothing, and because I want that Pandora stays and continue to work with their own okay, it is we say in Italy, work with our own legs. Okay, we only use and take Smoraglia law, as I say you before, and nowadays for a particular project that we have with Amazon, Amazon Italy, of course, and maybe we can receive some money from a private foundation that is Cattolica Foundation, is a foundation of an assicuration here in Italy, and but I'm thinking about it because receiving money from a foundation means that we don't create value. Okay, we want to create value. We want to create something that can stay alive without me. Okay, that can continue to live from 2020 to 2050. Okay, and to make this possible, we have to sell products. Okay, so I don't know if you understand.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else want to jump in with questions or thoughts? We have just a few minutes left.
Ciao Davide,
Just unmute yourself, Mike.
un piacere, grazie mille per questa presentazione. Just saying thank you so much, but also can you share a little bit more about your internal governance structure? Like how do you hire or select people out of the prison population? Like you talked about decisions. How are decisions made internally within your organization as like a subcontractor to other groups, especially around hiring?
Okay, so I want to take the slides so that I can help. This is the slides. Okay, so we are a social co-op, so I am the expression of the assembly, okay, and the administration council. It's in Italian. Okay, I'm sorry. It is in Italian. Okay, so I am the president and I am the expression of people who works in Pandora. Then, for example, in prison, there are educators, not hired by Pandora, but they are public dependent, okay? They are hired by Italian state to work in prison as educators, and they make the first selection, okay? So they said, okay, Elias, Minsun, Stash, Davide, they are good, and Lucas, Donald, Elon are not good, okay? And they said, okay, the first one are good people, so Davide, you can make the interview with them. Okay, so me and Gianluca, that is our responsible in prison, because in every place where we work, we have a responsible, we have the boss, okay, of every place. And that answer to me, okay, speak with me, but then is the responsible of how the work is good, is done, and defend the relation with the people, with the prisoner, or with people with addiction problem. Then me or Gianluca or Alessandro or Massimiliano make the interview with people, and then we decide as a normal work interview, okay? So we can make the proof, we can try to understand with their experience when they were outside prison, if they have some experience, work experience, or if they don't, we try to understand if they are able to do this work. And I used to think that what I want is not someone who is but someone will want to improve something. I prefer someone who is slow and not very fast, but that know that he or she has something to improve, has something to know and to understand. I don't know if you are understanding. Okay, so in prison is in this way. Outside of the prison, I got a relationship. I said you before with Aries Foundation, and Aries Foundation make the same works of prison educators. Okay, so the first cremator, they make the first cremator, and then we enter with this is the way in which we can work with other no-profit areas, so with social co-ops, A-type, or foundation or association. This is in practical what it means. Okay, everyone makes the part of the work that we are able to do. So I'm not an educator, okay, but I make for Aries Foundation or for the education of Monza's prison to make possible their work. I do my work together.
Very good. Okay. Fantastic. I guess we have to close down. We will be in touch, Davide, about maybe future occasions so we can learn more. I want to mention, because Minsun and I think Matthew Epperson at least was here, we are close to releasing a research report, which includes a section on Northern Italy and Pandora. In the next month, roughly, maybe 2 months, watch for some news on that. A research report from the Rocky Mountain Employee Ownership Center on social cooperatives, a comparative study, Northern Italy, Quebec, and South Korea. So that will be coming next. Thank you all for coming for all this this great conversation. Thank you, Davide. Mille grazie.
Much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a nice day, I think, because here in Italy is evening. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
Great to have
Thank you
you.
so
Finally,
much.
Thank you very
had a
much.
live.
Thank you.
Ciao tutti.
Hello.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye bye.